It is 2 a.m. in a small shop in Hue. Ngọc sits alone, her hands flat on rich yellow silk, scissors, a lamp, a garment she hasn't finished. On the shelf behind her, half hidden by bolts of fabric, sits a soft-covered notebook. Her grandmother's. It has been there so long, she barely sees it anymore. She has made Aozai for over 400 brides. This one, she cannot bring herself to sew. Ngọc is 58 years old. She lives and works on Chen Hung Dao Street in Hue, the old imperial city in central Vietnam. Outside, morning comes slowly. Mist over the perfume river, bicycles ticking past. A temple bell somewhere in the distance. Her shop is small. The walls hold bolts of silk. Deep red, ivory, gold. There is one work table, one dress form, a lamp she has used for 30 years, and a shelf holding a single soft-covered notebook that has not moved in decades. This shop is the only thing she kept from her marriage. Everything else is gone. Ngọc does not talk about that. She talks about fabric. Her grandmother learned techniques preserved from artisans connected to Hue's imperial traditions. Her mother taught her to cut on the bias, a diagonal cut that makes silk move like water when a woman walks. Ngọc learned this at 9 years old, sitting on the floor of this same shop, watching her mother's hands, the notebook already on its shelf even then. She has made Aozai for over 400 brides. Women come from other cities and wait months for an appointment. Her reputation in Hue is quiet but absolute. And now her own daughter Min is getting married in 3 days. The silk is cut, rich yellow silk, with a mandarin collar and 5 covered buttons. It is already beautiful. Ngọc has not sewn a single stitch. Min is 31. She works in logistics. She laughs loudly at her own jokes and wears running shoes to the market. She does not know the old embroidery patterns by name, and she has never pretended otherwise. When she comes to her mother's shop, she brings her phone. She shows Ngọc a photo from Instagram. An Aozai, modern, fitted differently, with the side slits cut higher so a woman can walk freely at a real wedding. Min is not asking for something strange. She is asking for something that fits her life. Ngọc looks at the photo for a long time. Then she places it face down on the table. In Hue, the proportions of a wedding Aozai are not a style choice. They are inherited. They carry history. To change them does not feel like an adjustment to Ngọc. It feels like a statement. But she cannot say this to Min without it sounding like she is criticizing not the garment, but the marriage. So she says nothing. The second pull is harder. Min comes back and sees the fabric still folded on the table, untouched. She is not angry. She is tired. She says quietly, "Meh, you have made beautiful Aozai for strangers for 30 years. I just want you to make one for me." Ngọc hears something in this that goes far beyond fabric. Min is not asking for higher slits. She is asking whether her mother can love her as she actually is, not as the daughter she imagined raising. Two things are pulling at Ngọc at once: the obligation she feels to her craft and to her grandmother's memory, and the love she has for a daughter she has struggled to fully understand since her husband left. That night, she sits at her table alone and picks up her scissors. She holds them open over the side seam, the exact place she would have to cut to give Min what she wants. She does not cut. Outside, the street has gone quiet. Even the students who pass each morning in white Aozai are long since home. She cannot go forward. She cannot go back. The wedding is in 3 days. The fabric is still basted in white thread, waiting. This is the near breaking point. And she almost doesn't reach for the notebook at all. She takes her grandmother's pattern book down from the shelf because she is looking for a reason to say no. It is a handwritten notebook. Soft cover. Pencil diagrams. Measurements in the careful hand of a woman who learned to write before the war. Ngọc has kept it for decades. She has looked at it many times, but this night she turns the pages slowly, looking for a rule she can point to, and instead she starts finding exceptions: a collar shortened for a bride with a long neck, a small note beside it. Fuller panels cut for a woman already carrying a child on her wedding day, no explanation needed. A hem raised half an inch for a bride who insisted on dancing at her own reception. One by one, the small departures add up. Quiet and deliberate, page after page, until Ngọc understands she is not looking at mistakes. She is looking at a pattern of her own. Then she reaches the page she had forgotten. Her grandmother made an ao zai for a bride who was marrying against her family's wishes. The proportions are slightly different from the standard. Small changes, nothing dramatic, but deliberate. And beside the diagram, one line in old script, De la Quocoe. This one belongs to her. Ngọc sits with this for a long time. To understand what shifts in her, you need to understand what the ao zai actually is. It is not simply a dress. In Vietnam, especially in Hue, the former imperial capital, the ao zai is the garment women wear on the days that count, weddings. Graduations, Tate, funerals in Hue, the proportions have always carried the weight of royal history. Ngọc had believed the ao zai she inherited was fixed, a pattern passed down unchanged, like a law. She had spent 30 years protecting those proportions, but now, looking back across the notebook as a whole, she sees it everywhere, a dozen quiet acts of seeing. Her grandmother never made the same garment twice. The standard was the starting point. Every woman who came to her table was seen, and the garment was made to hold her life, not the other way around. Ngọc had not been protecting her grandmother's tradition. She had been protecting a narrower version of it she built herself. Ngọc picks up her scissors. This time she cuts. She raises the slit the way Min asked. She adjusts the fit through the hip. She works through the rest of the night. And when the sun comes up over Chunhung Dao Street, silk catching the early light, the first bicycles passing outside, the ao zai is finished. Before she puts her needle down for the last time, she does one more thing. She finds a single thread, a color that does not quite match, and sews it into the inside of the collar. A small hidden line that no one will ever see except Min. She does not explain what it means. At the fitting, Min puts the ao zai on and stands in front of the mirror. She is quiet for a moment. Then she says, "Meh, this is the one." Something between them loosens. Something that has been held tight for years. But it is not a clean ending. Later that afternoon, Chiti Hank, Ngọc younger sister, mentions the backup ao zai. The rented one from a shop in Da Nang. Ming had already paid the deposit. She had already made a plan to walk into her wedding without her mother's garment, just in case her mother didn't come through. Ngọc doesn't say anything. That evening, she puts her grandmother's pattern book back on the shelf, back in the same place it has always sat. She sits alone in the quiet shop. The finished ao zai hangs by the door, ready for morning, and Ngọc sits with the knowledge that her daughter had quietly prepared to get married without her. A finished garment cannot undo that. The things we inherit are not always the things we think we are protecting. Ngọc spent 30 years guarding the shape of a tradition, certain the standard was the law, when all along, for her grandmother, the standard had only ever been the starting point. She almost missed the soul of it. Is it possible to love something so much that you stop understanding what it was actually for? If your family has a tradition like this, something passed down, something that has quietly changed, tell us about it in the comments.